Legal timeframes are commonly used to determine a compliance period and are frequently tested in the regulatory exam. A legal timeframe is not simply a number of days, months, or years. It consists of three separate components that must be read together. The formula is legal timeframe equals boundary plus period plus reference date. The first component is the counting boundary. The counting boundary tells you the limit within which the action must take place. It's usually expressed by a limiting word or preposition such as minimum, maximum, within, or on. These words can change the legal meaning of the time frame. For example, a minimum period establishes the earliest permissible point, while a maximum period establishes the latest permissible point. The word within usually means that the action must be completed before the started period expires. The word on points to a particular date. The second component is the counting period. The counting period gives you the numerical count and the counting convention that must be applied. Examples include 15 days, 1 business days, 5 years, or 1 calendar year. You must always check the type of period used. A business day period is not necessarily counted in the same way as a calendar day, calendar month, or calendar year period. Do not assume that the law means calendar days when it refers only to a stated period. Use the counting convention contained in the applicable provision or definition. The third component is the counting reference date. The counting reference date identifies the event or date from which the counting period must be measured. Examples include the date on which a transaction is cancelled or the date on which a complaint is received. Without the reference date, you know how long the period is, but you do not know where the count begins. Remember that all three components work together. If a provision states that an action must be completed within 15 days from the date on which the complaint is received, then within is the counting boundary, 15 days is the counting period, and the date on which the complaint is received is the counting reference date. Together, these three components establish the complete compliance period. The common exam trap is to memorize only the counting period, such as 15 days. That is not enough. An exam question may keep the correct period but change the counting boundary or the reference date. These alternatives can appear convincing because the familiar number is still present. Always memorize and apply the complete legal time frame. Boundary plus period plus reference date. When you calculate a daily time frame, pay careful attention to the exact wording used. If the time frame is expressed in days, you count every calendar day. This includes weekdays, weekends, and public holidays. If it's expressed in business days or working days, you exclude weekends and public holidays. For purposes of the regulatory exam, business days and working days use the same starting convention. 2. Before you begin counting, always ask two questions. First, which days must be included or excluded? Second, which date must be used as the starting point? Once you have identified the correct convention and starting date, you can apply the time frame to the calendar and determine the correct deadline. Remember, do not begin counting until you know what must be counted and where the count begins. Let's work through the calendar method step by step. Under this method, you physically count a prescribed number of days on a calendar. You begin on the counting start date, not on the reference day. In this example, Friday, 3 February is the reference date. So that's not counted. The counted day is Saturday, 4 February. This becomes day 1. Then Sunday, 5 Feb is day 2. Monday, 6 Feb is day 3. Tuesday, 7 Feb is day 4. And then Wednesday is our compliance date. That is 8 February, day 5. Because the required period is 5 days, the latest date by which the notification must be submitted is on 8 February. The compliance date is therefore 8 February. For the regulatory exams, you are not required to memorize South African public holidays. If a public holiday affects the time frame calculation, the exam question will provide the detail to you. You should, however, know the number of days in each month, because a calculation may continue from one month into the next. The month containing 31 days are January, March, May, and July. Then we don't skip one. Then we are followed by August, October, and December. Always remember that Caesar Julius and Caesar August, they both wanted 31 days in the month. The one didn't want to be better than the other one. Remember that February normally has 28 days. In a leap year, it has 29 days. If the calculation involves a leap year, the question will tell you. The key is to identify the counting start day, label it day 1, and then count each day carefully until you reach the prescribed number of days. The adding method is a quick way to calculate a compliance date when the counting period is expressed in ordinary days. The formula is compliance date equals reference date plus counting period. You begin with the reference date. This is the event or date from which the period must be measured. You then add the complete counting period to that date. The date on which the count ends is the compliance date. Let us apply the method to the example. The reference date is 3 February. The counting period is 5 days, but remember we start counting from the next day, reference plus 1. So when you add 5 days to 3 February, then the first day is 4, the second day is 5, the third day is 6, the fourth day is 7, and then the fifth day is 8 February. The adding method produced the same result as the calendar method. The difference is that the adding method is quicker because you do not need to construct and count through a full calendar when the period consists of ordinary days. However, you must apply an important limitation. The adding method cannot be used when the counting period is expressed in business days or working days. Business day and working day calculations require you to exclude weekends and public holidays from the count. Simply adding the number of days to the reference date may therefore produce the wrong compliance date. Before using the adding method, always check in the counting convention. If the period is expressed in ordinary days, you may use the adding method. When a time frame is expressed in business days or working days, you still use the calendar method. The difference is that Saturdays, Sundays, and public holidays are excluded from the count. Let's look at an example. An FSP receives a premium payment on Friday, 3 February at 9 o'clock. The money must be deposited into a separate bank account within 1 business day. Before counting, identify the time components. The counting boundary is within. The counting period is 1 business day. the counting convention requires you then to exclude Saturdays, Sundays, and public holidays. Our reference date is Friday, 3 February, and our one will fall on the next calendar day. So we are going to ignore Saturday and Sunday, and then our first counting day is then Monday, 6 February. So the compliance date is therefore 6 February. Let's look at how you calculate the time frame when legislation prescribes the period in years. The formula is compliance date equals the incident date plus the prescribed number of years minus 1 day. Let's apply the formula to this example. A complaint was received on 5 January 2020. The complaint record must be retained for a minimum of 5 years from the date of complaint. The incident date is therefore 5 January 2020. First, add the 5 years to the incident date. So this takes you to 5 Jan 2025. Then you must subtract 1 day. This gives you a compliance date of 4 January 2025. The complaint record must therefore be retained until 4 January 2025. Remember the final step. If you add the prescribed number of years but forget to subtract 1 day, you will arrive at the wrong compliance date. You must also understand 2 other types of year-based time frames. A calendar year is a fixed period running from 1 January to 31 December. It does not mean any rolling period of 12 months. A financial year is the counting period used by the business. Most FSPs align their financial year with the tax year. Their financial year therefore ends on the last day of February. However, an FSP may adopt a different financial year end, such as 30 June. So when answering a question, first identify whether it refers to a prescribed number of years, a calendar year, or a financial year. You can then apply the correct time frame. A compliance period tells us when a regulated action must be performed. A compliance period may be expressed as either an exact compliance period or a flexible compliance period. The important difference is whether the law gives us a fixed deadline or requires us to determine the appropriate priority. An exact compliance period provides a clear deadline. For example, the law may require an action to be completed within 15 days. In this case, we can calculate the precise compliance date by applying the correct counting rules. A flexible compliance period works differently. It does not provide an exact number of days or a fixed deadline. Instead, it tells us how urgent the action must be performed. We must interpret the required level of priority and apply it to the circumstances. A flexible period does not mean that the action is optional or that the responsible person may delay it indefinitely. Immediately. When the law says that something must be done immediately, the responsible person must give the action first priority and perform it without delay. For example, an FSP must issue a receipt immediately after receiving funds from a buyer. This means that the FSP should not accept the buyer's funds unless it's able to issue the receipt at that time. Immediately, therefore, requires the highest level of urgency. The action may not be postponed merely because it's inconvenient. Within a reasonable time. Within a reasonable time means that the action must be performed within the period that a reasonable person in the same circumstances would regard as an appropriate priority. There is no fixed number of days. We must consider the facts and circumstances surrounding this action. However, this does not provide an unlimited period. The reasonable person must still act with the degree of urgency that the circumstances reasonably require. As soon as possible means that the action must be performed at the earliest practical opportunity. A genuine delay may sometimes be acceptable because of operational circumstances. However, unnecessary or avoidable delay is not permitted. The difference is important. Immediately means first priority and without delay. As soon as possible means at the earliest practical opportunity and within a reasonable time depends on what a reasonable person would regard as appropriate in the same circumstances.